reading something on what Monica has written on LinkedIn, and I actually wrote creation with creativity is key to our nationalism, and she said, Ravi, you have to give a talk, and you come here. Then I met her in the morning, and she said, nahi, kuch bhi bolo. Since you have written, you give a talk on that. And the reason I stopped Michelle to give my introduction, because I'm 47 now. My IQ is going down. Only wisdom is experience. So I do 4 things. First one, I live on the experience of my body of work. So my last patent was 4 years back, and I still get money out of the royalties from my patent. So that pays my hotel bills. My second thing is rescue pilot, which still doesn't get me money. My last mission was Afghanistan. I've done 56 missions, so that's as an aviator. So that's what I do, but I don't get money. My third thing is basically venture capitalist. That's the one I hope will give me retirement money, and I'm going to emphasize on that. Because venture capitalists are nothing. They basically take money from leaders, very successful, rich leaders, and they hope to cultivate new leaders so that they can keep on funding. So that's where the focus will be, Monica, and this is for you. So everything over here, Monica knows about it because I just created this slide sitting over there, which is basically a summary of our conversation in the morning. Look, it's a fact, and nobody accepts this particular fact that disruption happens when there's lack of happiness, and that's the practical truth. Okay. Today, if you actually look at companies, regulators, or customers, all three of them are happy. You take anything. Let's start from education. Okay. You take education, you take financial services, you take airlines, you take manufacturing, you take anything. Everyone is happy, or at least one of them is unhappy. Financial services, more focused because of a previous speaker mentioned about crypto. Crypto as a protocol is challenging the notion of currency, and nobody knows how to deal with that. So regulator is very, very unhappy, though customers are happier. But if you take airline, no one is happy. If you take education system, no one is happy. But that's such a great news, because we are living in an era which is full of opportunities. And all of you guys should really, really build something, because there's a vacuum over here. There's one more thing which is happening, which is very, very interesting. Okay, and this happens if you participate and if you travel a lot. So if you meet a lot of people who are building things, if you meet a lot of technologists who are creating protocols, and if you meet a lot of people who are writing policies, there's one thing which is happening, which everyone accepts, nobody wants to talk about it, is there's a convergence of economics, there's a convergence of geopolitics, and there's a convergence of technology which is happening. I'll just take the example. For the first time in the history of mankind and computation, for the first time, technology, geopolitics, and currency, which is economics, have come together as a protocol. And this change is not going to stop. So all the young students over here who really want to build something, please think protocol and design is going to be key here. Okay? And don't restrict design to a particular product or a service. That would be a huge, huge mistake, because you're not going to, I assume everyone wants to be rich here. If somebody doesn't want to be rich, you don't have to listen to me. I hope everyone likes to be happy. Think about protocols, because that's how, and I'll give you examples of my own companies. Everything which I'm going to say, as I've said, I'm not wise enough. My wisdom comes from my experience and body of work. So I'll share 3 or 4 companies, given the time permits, and I'll give you real examples of how it is happening. But the biggest example today, where everyone is debating, is for the first time in the history of computer science, for the first time in the history of mankind, for the first time in the history of geopolitics, convergence of technology, geopolitics, and economics has happened, and we call it crypto. These would be the 5 economies. 1, these are the economies where I'm putting money. These are the economies where a lot of people are putting money, and I'll give you examples of why people are putting money and why young students, young entrepreneurs are building these companies. My first company, you can check them out, Digantra. Digantra is, by the way, they are Indian company. 3 young entrepreneurs based out of Indian Institute of Science. They have built world's first space situational awareness platform for space. So they're looking at Earth. They're saying this, the strategic advantage where anyone who's dealing with communication or information will not happen on this Earth, it will happen in space, because the next biggest economy is going to be a LEO economy. Okay, and if you actually look at Tata's, they're way behind. If you look at Reliance, they are way behind. If you look at Airtel, Bharti's of the world, they're acquiring. So all of them are acquiring. So young kids who can either build large companies or they can sell these companies at very, very lucrative prices if you're able to build, again, something which will exist in future. And I'm talking about future. The definition of future is not 12 years. The definition of future is 5 to 7 years. So check out Digantra, which has built world space situational awareness, both for defense as well as for civilian purposes. Defense, because the wars and the strategy of war, Ukraine-Russian war, you study if you want to study, the migration and maneuvering of satellites basically tell you how you're going to and when the war will happen. Also, the communication, which is from Earth to space or Earth to Earth, or one country to another country, is congested and very, very expensive. The cost of that communication is going to come down in space. Digantra is doing. So Google Digantra. The second one, I call it Industrial X. I'm not going to talk about that because that's a longish talk and more technical. Electron economy. Now, before I say anything about this economy, my fundamental thesis is that the complex problems of India and its solutions will be global postulates for the world. Because West doesn't have an advantage today. We have an advantage because we have thought of that particular problems for a very, very long time, Hence, we don't have time because we have to solve it. Because if we don't solve it, then somebody in Vietnam is going to solve it, somebody in Kenya is going to solve it. The problem is not going to get solved in US or in UK or Germany or anyone. They are incapable of solving these particular ones. These are complex problems. Hence, electron economy and the unit economics of that electron economy, whether you're talking about battery, whether you're talking about car, whether you're talking about hydrogen as an energy solution, or anything with respect to that, those solutions will be designed in India, and then they will become global postulates. So stop thinking about India, because your solutions, if you're able to solve a problem which exists in India, trust me, you're solving a global problem, provided you're solving at a design level. You're not solving at a product and services level. You're not Zomato, you're not Swiggy. You're doing something remarkable which will change, something which SpaceX has done and where ISRO is struggling. They have brought down the cost of payload to take to space, right? And I have a feeling that there's one company which I will mention, browse, not my company, Agnikul. Previous speaker mentioned about 3D. They're the world's first company based out of IIT Madras. They have 3D printed one-shot combustion engine for space. Okay, that means to build a spacecraft, it will take less than 2 years. It will cost them at least 1,000 of the unit economics. And these are the solutions I'm talking about, but they have to be done. So make and design is the mantra for our country. Not make in India. Make in India is oversold. And so on and so forth. Decentralized economy, I have given examples of crypto. Lending is a huge issue in India, but it's a global problem also. Anyone who solves a lending problem in India, trust me, they will be able to solve that particular problem. For US, it's a huge problem in US. They are not able to solve it for the last 12 years, but we have been dealing with this particular problem for the last 24, 30, maybe since independence. So think about that. So Monica came to me and she said, Ravi, you have to inspire. I said, I'm incapable of inspiring. I can only hold conversations. Okay, I just don't want to inspire. I think we require conversations, and we require conversations which are timely and which result into outcomes. And those outcomes benefit society, maybe starting with our society, but their scale is global. So these three trends, I'm going to leave it with you. They are not going to change. Everything is going to change, but these three trends are not going to change for the next 24 years. First, a common language between man and machine will happen. I made that statement 14 years back. Nobody believed me. And today, two large companies have actually paid tons of money for my algorithm. So trust me, that will happen. ChatGPT is just a start. Don't put your money in that, trust me. People have already made money. Second thing, morality and social structures will change. I was one of the earliest investors in Tinder because I knew that the institution of marriage will be seriously, seriously under stress. So I invested in Tinder and it has given me great dividends. So I'm an example. Everything what I'm saying, I'm the example, except Agnikul, which is not my company. And the third one, think about civilizational change. Because we have that advantage in India. And Manika, that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, just thank you.